Hi creatives, very happy to see you. Today we will talk about the power of creativity. We will discuss the approaches to get benefits of creativity and we hi we will talk about this about creativity with the coach Tatiana, and she will join us in a few minutes. So today we will talk about how to reduce stress with creativity, how to build confidence, and how to improve cognitive functions, enhance communication, on all the topics that are connected with creativity. And it's not only for artists; it's for any person actually. So if you're interested how to feel more confidence and how to boost your creativity, today will be a lot of practical approaches, and I will talk about this with Tatiana, who is a coach, and I will add her in a second. Hi Tatiana, please apply to join the today video, and I will add you. Any questions you have about creative process, and maybe if you are interested in some tips or want to share your life hacks. Hi Tatiana.
Hello, hello. Good to see you, Paulina.
I'm happy to see it too. Oh, it's so
So,
beautiful. Love your pattern.
so colorful. Well, I knew that patterns is your thing, so I chose the most colorful piece of my clothing just to
Yeah.
see you today.
Oh, so nice to see you.
How are you?
Uh, I'm fine, great, very happy to see you. And we were going to, here's a hi from France. Actually, Tatiana is also from France, right?
Yes, but I haven't always lived in France. I only moved here a year ago. Literally, this August is going to be exactly a year since I moved here from the UK. And I live in the south of France, where it's very sunny and very warm. And I feel like I'm still acclimatizing after a rainy London climate. It is very, very different, but I'm not complaining. I love it here. And I think I finally settled down. I feel like this is home after about a year that I'm
Yeah,
here.
I can relate to this change of the climate, moving from Latvia to Spain.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but I love sun. This is one of the reasons when I moved here. So please tell a little bit about yourself, about your journey, and your if we go to your account on Instagram, it's written walking mentor and coach. What does it mean? Can you share it with us?
Yes, very happy to be here. Very happy to introduce myself. I am, like Paulina just mentioned, I'm not only a coach, I'm a walking mentor, which is a combination of all the things that I love. So, of course, it allows me to use all my coaching skills. I'm a certified coach, but I combine coaching with walking in nature. And you probably guess that it's quite difficult to do this in London, especially under the rain. So south of France is a perfect place to do so. And there's a lot of stunning nature, a lot of trails and different routes that I explore. And I take people on a walk, and we engage in deep conversations. And that is very closely connected with the topic of our live stream today, because it definitely influences the creativity. And when you walk and talk, new ideas come, the creative process evolves, and I find these sessions much more effective if you compare them with sessions online, for instance. So there is something very special about including body movement with conversation. So this is who I am, but my background is classical music, and I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about this through our live stream, because this is where I always get my inspiration from. I'm a professional musician, and I experienced a career change around 4 years ago. So now I'm doing coaching full time. But of course, my roots and my core identity is still very much an artistic one, because once you're a musician, I'm going to stay a musician for the rest of my life. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing. And it's really interesting how this experience in creative profession, like a musician, then how it transformed into your practice as a working mentor, as a coach, and you also work with creativity as well, because you help, as I understand, you help people to find this creativity inside them, because it's really important part of our life. And my next question is actually connected with how with creative activities we reduce stress, how it helps us to reduce stress. What is the connection between creativity and reducing the stress?
Well, where do I start? I think everybody who is listening, maybe actually would be useful to have some interaction. Maybe you can put it in the comments if you remember the moments when you felt stressed and then you found a way to transform stress into something more positive by engaging in some sort of creative activity. And when I say creative activity, it could be literally anything. I think a lot of people find it scary to think that, creative has to be something very difficult or complex, or you have to be an expert. For instance, to be creative, you have to be a professional artist or a professional musician, or you have to be really good in something. But what I invite you to think about are the simple things that can be these creative activities. It can be cooking a nice meal, cooking the dish for the very first time with and using the flavors in a creative way. It could be putting your favorite song on when you are doing your, household routines and dancing along. It could be taking a different path on your way to work and not walking the same route every day. It could be finding 15 minutes during the day for sketching and drawing. So there are so many ways of finding these little sparks of creativity during the day. And answering your question, how does this reduce the feelings of anxiety and stress? When you're doing something creative, you become much more aware, you engage with the process, and you probably can think of a moment when your thoughts just kind of stop and you lose the sense of time. That would be a question for you, for instance. Did you ever find this when you are starting from a
Yeah.
blank canvas, and then 1 hour later you're thinking, where has the time gone? And this state of mind, when we're so focused on engaging in this activity, is very beneficial. And long-term engagement in creative processes reduces stress over time. So this, you can practice mindfulness on its own, but there are a lot of mindful elements in engaging in creative process for sure.
I can definitely relate to that. And by the way, it's very interesting to know people who are listening us write an emoji or something in the comments to see if you can relate to this. I know these moments when I start drawing or painting and I delve into colors and lines and textures, and it's really kind of meditative meditation for me when I just lose the sense of time, and it's very fulfilling and relaxing at the same time. Sometimes it's more like express of my emotion when I release my emotion through this process.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be different, it can be more intensive when I not very stable emotionally, for example, and I'll have some dramatic moments.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's more like a harmonious state, like very calming.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned now the therapeutic effect, and there is a certain, there's a big movement of art therapy and music therapy, for instance, because especially when we experience difficult emotions that are kind of hard to live through, and sometimes you even feel like I don't have strength, to open up a journal and start drawing, or I don't have the strength to actually engage in music. But once you take this first step, you can really transform the feelings, because art is this door that can, once you open it up, you can then live through these difficult emotions. And this is where the therapeutic effect comes from. So you can literally transform something negative into something else. not necessarily positive, but you can see it transform. And that also sends our brain a message that no matter how difficult the situation is now, you can live through it. It will pass, or it can become something different. So again, we are teaching our brains and our whole system that however you're feeling right now, it's not going to last forever. Yeah. So it's kind of almost an escape door from uncomfortable emotions sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm also very curious about how it helps. How does it help to build self-confidence? Because I definitely feel like this, and then I see in my students that they become more confident during this creativity.
Mm.
How
Yeah,
does it work?
that's a big one. That's a big one. And here I might give you an example from my musical past. Uh, since I was trained as a professional cellist, since very young age, I started playing at the age of 6, and basically was doing this for many, many years, for many, many hours. So when I was growing up, I was always going, of course, listen to other musicians play. And when I was younger, I would always, admire somebody and wish I could sound like that musician, for instance. But once I grew older and I met my professors on the way, and I traveled all over the world, and I traveled to music festivals and master classes. So I was always curious to hear how else people express themselves. And then a very dear teacher of mine actually gave me a metaphor for this, that all this time I was collecting these little threads and different voices only to form my own unique way of sounding. So when you engage in a creative process and you look at great art or at what other people do, or when you engage in this group process and you see how other people express themselves, you stop comparing yourself with others. And this is what normally, undermines your self-confidence, right? When you compare yourself with others and you think that you're not as good or you're never going to be as good. But when you see that every person expresses themselves in a unique way, then it becomes okay to express yourself in your unique way. So in a way, there is no competition in creative process, because anybody is capable of expressing themselves, and then the artistic value of it is a different story, but you can still see that this is an expression of that certain person. And I think this is, again, a very healthy way of building self-confidence, because you do it in a gentle way, and you are always exploring and discovering different parts of yourself. Because, I'm sure you can relate that every day when you start a painting, you never quite know what the final result is going to be. So it also reflects how you change as a person, and you express yourself in a different way every day. So I would say it definitely helped me as a child to engage in musical activity to find my self confidence. And again, now I use it in my work. I actually use a lot of music and listening to music and getting inspiration from music, because there's something very empowering when you share the creative process with others in a non-competitive way.
Yeah, there's a comment that that's such a great insight for comparison. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, thank you for comments. And I think also, can I say it? So it's kind of connection to my inner self helps me to be more connected with myself, to be aware of who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why I understand that there is no need to compare myself with others, because I know better who am I, and it
Mm-hmm.
helps me to feel more stable, more confident.
Yeah,
Right?
you
Yeah.
mentioned a very important word again. It's awareness. This is exactly what we're talking about. Because to be able to express something, express a feeling or an emotion or anything, first you need to find it within yourself. So awareness is the very first step. And this is what I learned in the musical training as well. When you think of a musical phrase, before you can play it on an instrument, be it a cello or piano or any other instrument, first you need to imagine exactly how you want it to sound and what you would like to express with this sound, or what do you want, what is the message that you want to send across. So the work always starts within. So before you can name the feeling and think for yourself what is the idea that you're expressing, you cannot start. So all this preparatory work is very, very important. And of course, it's inner work. And by doing this more regularly, you establish a better connection, because then again, you get you kind of get the skill of checking in with yourself and naming, oh, how do I feel today? What is it about me that needs expressing? So it's, of course, developing this inner voice, inner dialogue, and becoming more and more confident with it over time.
I'm very curious about the musician process of creation that you just mentioned, because in art, I would say I have two approaches on how I create. Yes, the main one, especially in my professional part, when I think what I want to express, what I want to create, and then I create it. And another one, more therapeutic one, when I do not think at all, I just start doing something, some abstraction,
Yeah.
and it's very releasing, and it really helps a lot to feel more relaxed. It's kind of improvisation without any plan, and very unpredictable one. Do you have the same in music?
Absolutely.
Or
It is exactly the same, because most of the, again, I was trained as a classical musician, so I always play the music that has been written before, and it was written by a different person. So that's a different way of approaching it, because here you have different parts. First, you do a little bit of research about the composer and his life or her life, and the story of the creation of the piece, and then you work on your own interpretation. So there's one way of approaching it. But the improvisation part, of course, exists in music, just as you described it in art. When you just engage with your instrument and you make it sound so that it resonates with how you feel today. And you find much more improvisation in jazz, for instance, or in different styles of music, where people really bounce off ideas from one another, and they use music as language, which is really cool. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that, when you hear the improvisation live in a concert, you can really sense how these people communicate with each other, but without speaking, but only by using different sounds and being really in tune with one another. So that is very, very similar to what you can do as a visual artist as well.
Sounds amazing. Another question I have is about, I would say, neurobiology or something like this. If you can explain how this creativity can improve our brain function. I mean that it's definitely, so we can say that it's not only something that we feel, but it's really like a science fundamental thing, that creativity helps helps us with our cognitive functions and all this stuff, right?
Absolutely. Well, I'm not a scientist,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I can definitely speak about what it does to our brain. I mean, the very important skill that we learn when we engage in creative process is neuroplasticity, which is quite literally, it stimulates the brain's ability to form new neural connections. And this is the consequence of everything that we've talked about before, that every time you create art, you are being present in the moment, and you are creating. It's a process of creation, and you never quite know what the final result is going to be. And it also, when we are creative, we are always looking at things from a different perspective, which does allow for this new neural paths to come together. I hope I make myself clear, but I think, again, with music, maybe it's easier for me to explain that you can take a musical phrase in so many different directions, but you can only decide in the moment, because once the sound is out there, you cannot go back. So it teaches you to react in the moment and not to stop and not to give up, but always, to keep doing what you're doing. And very much the same with painting, that once you draw a line, that you need to create the continuation of that line and maybe a different shape. So your brain is constantly looking for new solutions, new creative solutions. And by developing this skill, you can then apply it to other things in life. For instance, when you are facing a situation when there's more than one solution, which is pretty much any situation, if you have this plasticity, then instead of going straight into reactive mode and making the decision on the spot, you can step away and think of different scenarios. And you can really find joy in this process when you think, okay, what if I do it this way, but how can I do it differently? So by developing the skill, you're teaching yourself to the message that there's always more than one solution to any problem or any situation. And this is, I think this is a great way of learning this very, very beneficial skill. So this is talking about the brain itself, but also there are certain things like memory enhancement. I mean, these days it's a big problem because we are so used to this short clip, like the attention span is less than 10 seconds these days, and we're so used to TikTok videos and we're always on the rush. But creativity, it helps you slow down in a good way, in a very natural way and a very beneficial way. So it helps you to sustain your attention and focus, and also it improves your memory. Again, since all the examples I give today are from music, but I had to learn all the pieces by memory in order to perform them. And this is something that you almost never do. And I don't know if you did that, but when in school, we would always learn poetry by heart and recite it back. And when I was growing up, I never thought that it would be useful in my life. But it happens that actually this is a great way to activate and to train your memory.
Actually, for me, it was always a hard moment.
Yeah.
I was really bad at that. I could remember everything at home, but when I have to perform it in front of the class,
Oh yeah, that is terrifying.
I said the first line and then nothing, like a blank
Yeah,
blank page in my mind.
but you see, this is a different example because here
Yeah.
what comes up is the anxiety, is the performing anxiety, it's when you
Yeah,
actually have to go
yeah,
and
yeah,
recite
you're
it.
right.
But the actual process of just learning stuff by memory and then maybe,
Mm,
reciting it for yourself is very, very beneficial.
yeah.
And one more thing actually that is really great as a as a consequence and as a skill that you learn is I would say it's kind of flexibility and multitasking. Because for instance, I was amazed when I saw this video that showed what happens in the brain of a performing musician. And they would light up different parts of the brain that get engaged. And when you think about it, it's pretty amazing because you kind of work with your whole self, right? So you engage your vision, like all your skills, your vision, physically, especially, that specific example I'm thinking about was a concert pianist. And, it's very physical. So you're using your both hands, your both feet, because you're pressing the pedal. Then, of course, you're using your memory because you play music by heart, and your vision. And they also measure what happens with your heart rate and your sweat. So you're almost like a professional athlete by the amount of calories you actually lose after performing a live concert like that. And I was really shocked when I saw it so clearly. So I'm sure if you would attach all of these wires to an artist during a live art performance or something, that would be pretty much the same. So all of the amazing work that our brain does when we engage in creative activity is like, it's like a gym, I would say. It's like a gym for our brain where you train all your muscles simultaneously and you have the full body workout. So it's the full brain workout, if you ask me.
They're wonderful comments. Daria writes, "What beautiful insights and inspiring lives." Thank you. No, Daria. Yes, Daria. Thank you. Please save it. I will save. I will do my best to save. Okay. And the next part, practical approaches. Let's go to the practical tips. First of all, I want to ask you. Maybe someone who is not an artist or not a musician consider themselves as not creative, but I can't agree to this. I think every person is really creative. And what are some examples of daily creative routines that people can easily integrate in their lives to, as we discussed before, how it can help? We know that it will help. What are some examples? And especially to people with busy schedules, what we can suggest them?
Well, first of all, commenting on your very first point, I do believe that every person is creative. Let's just put a dot in the end of this sentence. You really do not need to be a professional to call yourself a creative person. If you look at kids, this is my favorite example. Children are so creative. They really do not think of themselves as, they don't compare themselves with others. They don't need many tools to be creative. Just look at a child playing on the beach, for instance, or in the forest. Like, I know you have two children. I have one 6-year-old. You know, when we go into nature, what he needs is a stick, and that's pretty much it. And then he goes off into his world of fantasy and creativity, and he can play with it for hours. So the creativity is always there when we're born. What happens with it is a different question. When we grow up, when we start playing different roles, we become, we become a partner, a child, a parent, an expert. We become very serious adults, and sometimes it happens that we don't leave room for that creativity. So I'm sure you've heard the name, the inner child. So for me, connecting with your creativity is a little bit about that. It's about asking that inner child, what is it that he or she would like to do? And again, maybe thinking about what you did as a kid that you really, really enjoyed. And some of the answers might be there. But then, this is such a funny comment. This is us as adults. Yeah, pretty much. But it doesn't have to be this way, right? So I'm not inviting you, by saying this, I'm not inviting you to quit your jobs and just be silly and irresponsible kids. But it's more like inviting that creativity back into your life. And as we mentioned before, it could be simple things like journaling. If you are a person who liked writing as a kid, then journaling could be your thing. It could be an interesting exercise called morning pages, where you just write. It's a free writing exercise. When it's the first thing you do when you wake up, maybe you can have it with your morning coffee. You just have a blank page and you start writing without thinking. And this is a great exercise to actually unblock existing patterns, because if you don't think, your hand just starts writing. And then if you do it regularly, you might find yourself actually writing something creative and get back into that creative writing routine. And this is a simple thing to do and doesn't require much time. But what you need is that commitment, that you block this time out, either this time during the week or time during the day, be it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But this time is your creativity time.
Yeah.
And
sorry, may I add? I practice these morning pages by my own, and also a few days ago, for a week or more, about commitment. We committed with my friend to call in the morning on Zoom, and we were writing together in the silence. Actually,
Oh, wow.
she and I, we were writing together. But it helps, this commitment that I had an agreement to my friend that let's have a call at 9 a.m. every day for a week, and it lets for 30 minutes, so about 20 minutes we were writing, and then little small talk, and then we went to our work. And
That's amazing.
it really
That's
works.
so inspiring because commitment is a big thing. I read the comments here that says commitment and consistency is the strongest love expression. Well, it is, because it is so hard to do something on your own. So if you have a friend, like your example is just really spot on. If you have a friend or somebody, a buddy that you can do this together with, then it just increases the success rate
Yeah.
dramatically.
And for me, this practice of morning pages of journaling really helps to make my anxiety lower. In my case,
Yeah,
yeah.
because if you really try not to think, sometimes that's the difficult part, right? Because
Yeah.
what is it? How do we not think? We're thinking all the time. But if you just let it out on the page, then it's literally just like throwing stuff away and freeing yourself from these thoughts, and then you can go up about your day in a much more focused or relaxed state. So yeah, great. It's really great that you're putting this exercise in practice. But hey, there are so many other ways. Now, of course, we spend a lot of time on our phones, so probably we don't want another thing including our phone during the day. But if what you like is capturing moments, then taking creative photographs or images during the day. If you have this skill of really appreciating the beauty around you, then using your camera as a creative source is very simple and easy. If you're really looking around you and you're spotting the moments of beauty throughout the day, that can itself be a creative activity for you that doesn't require any scheduling. So, first of all, again, we start with ourselves. Since every person is different, you need to kind of go inside and ask yourself, what is it that, what is the best tool to express yourself? Be it music or writing or cooking or drawing or walking. And then you go with what resonates with you the most. And even music, you can use in so many ways. Even listening to music can be a creative activity. For instance, if you challenge yourself to listen to a piece of music in a different genre every day, just one song, but in a different style, not the one that you always put on, but really exploring different musical styles, that can increase your creativity dramatically. I have a favorite book here that is called A Year of Wonder. There's a BBC journalist that wrote it, and she chose a piece of music for each day of the year. And there's a playlist that comes along with this book. So literally what you can do, that every day you open a new chapter, you find a date, you read a short description of this piece of music, and you find it and you listen to it. I mean, how cool is that? And that also doesn't require very much time or effort, but it can really give you a spark for your day. And what you're doing with your workshops, I know that you're now launching a new product of this very short videos where you literally can set a timer for 15 or 20 minutes during the day and sit down and sketch. This is a great example of this bite-sized chunks of creativity that you can schedule in your day. So I hope I made it clear that it doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to require a lot of effort. It's just, again, raising this awareness of where in my life am I lacking something? Where would I like to add a little bit of a spark, a little bit of creativity? Is it my routines? Is it the way, even cleaning the house? For instance, I really hate cleaning, so I try to make it fun. I always try to either put the music on or involve my kids to help me, or I listen to a podcast, because, anything works. Anything that works for you, that can make your everyday a little bit more colorful, be it, you just need to find your own instrument, your own tool.
Actually, while I was listening to you, I had an insight. Kind of everyone has a lot of creative activities during the day, but usually listening to music, cooking, drawing something, reading, watching, looking at the flowers, taking pictures. But usually we are doing all this simultaneously because we have many things to do. We're in a rush. We do not focus on this thing, but even listening the same music composition, if we focus our attention to it, if we dedicate some time, okay, these 5-10 minutes, I will listen to these compositions, or I will really read this book, thinking about the book, or watching something. This focus and this connection with the process, this is what makes the value out of this section.
Yeah, absolutely. It's being present in this moment. It's slowing down in this moment, even if it's 5 minutes, but you are there, fully present, engaging, and you're conscious about it, right?
So it's not just preparing a lunch very quickly, but it's about enjoying thinking what exactly are the ingredients, what you're putting together. Then, it's changed. The same thing, but it different. Yeah, and thank you for mentioning Creative Sparks. Yeah, it's my new product. It's access to my library, the collection of creative ideas. They're really very short. The videos are about 3-5 minutes, and you can create every art project based on this video in 20 minutes. So 20 minutes a day, and you have a enjoyable, beautiful art project. And I hope if you're interested in visual art, you're very welcome. You can find link in my bio and so on. But there is another way of also, please, if you want to get these Creative Sparks, the access to the purchase will be open for a few days, so don't miss it. And another thing that I wanted to ask you is walking in nature can be really a very creative process. And I would really love to know more about your walking retreat and how does it work? Please, can you tell? Because it's very unusual with visual drawing video assignments on what to create. I think it's very clear for me. Well, maybe for someone it's also not clear. But what is walking retreat? How does it work? Can you tell us, please?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned in the beginning, I like doing things my own way, maybe quite a unique way. This is why it requires some explanation. But with nature, actually, it's very simple. Nature is a limitless source of inspiration, and nature is constantly changing. So when you walk in nature, when you engage in nature, you become much more connected. And we talked today a lot about this connection with yourself. And for me and for many people, nature is that place that actually helps you connect with, first of all your senses, because you activate your sense of smell. Of course, visually, you look around you, you have all the colors. You activate the sense of touch because you know nature is full of different surfaces, so it's very tactile. And of course, by walking, you connect with your body. So, talking about the whole self engagement, walking in nature is one of the best tools to get this connection with yourself and the feelings, because as we know, all our feelings live in our bodies. So, by walking, you kind of help these feelings and thoughts come up to the surface. So when you walk alongside a mentor or a coach, then all of this stuff that comes up can be discussed in the process. And even though it sounds unusual, but it is the most organic way of having a conversation. And in this situations, I always give an example. For instance, if you think of a difficult conversation that you need to have with a friend or a partner or somebody that you're in a conflict with, it is almost impossible to have this conversation sitting face to face and talking. But it would be a very different story if you invited that person to go on a walk with you. And by walking, you can find ways of approaching this situation differently. There's something very human about walking side by side with one another. And the fact that you don't have to look in the eye, but you know that somebody is walking by your side, shoulder to shoulder. And by matching the pace of your steps, because you can walk fast, you can walk slow, you can stop if you need to, all of these things really help engage in a conversation. And when I experienced this myself as a client at first, I really fell in love with this modality, if you like. And so, since I'm so excited about this, I'm now excited to share it with other people. So, I do it on a regular basis individually. But it is September. I've designed a program here in the south of France, in a gorgeous place in Provence, where you can come and walk, not just with me, but with a group for 3 nights and 4 days. It starts on a Thursday and ends on a Sunday. So I've just come back from the place, but actually just a few days ago, where I designed all the routes. I mapped out all the places where we're going to stop and have delicious French food, of course. So it's not only about, thinking, but there's a lot of enjoyment and fun. So it's a combination of walking, socializing, because obviously you're going to meet people in that group, staying in a gorgeous place surrounded by the fields and lavender fields. And it's just absolutely stunning. It's such a joy for me to do this work in these places that I wanted to share with as many people as possible. So that's all from me.
Sounds fantastic, actually. And where can we find some information? You have a website, right? If someone is interested.
I do have a website, but also it's easier to go on my Instagram page. You'll find all the information about the retreat in one of the first posts. And also there's a link in bio that goes directly to the description of the program. The group is almost complete, but we have a few spots available, and it's the first weekend of September from the 5th till the 8th. So yes, I will be happy to see anyone that wants to, first of all, experience the beauty of Provence, which is absolutely stunning, and to do some good walking and to taste some of the delicious food as well.
Thank you for inviting us. I also have questions about consistency. How does consistency influence on creativity? Does it matter how consistent am I in my creative process or not?
Well, I'm afraid this answer is very straightforward. Yes, it does. And again, the example I would give is that, it doesn't necessarily, you find it with everything. If you want to build a skill, you need repetition. The only way to train our brain is this repetitive process. The more often you engage in a certain activity, the more it becomes a habit. And building healthy habits, creative habits, is a very similar process to building a fitness routine, for instance. If you want to go to the gym, then you can't just go to the gym once a month and then skip a month, right? You need the routine, you need the repetitive process. And if you want to learn a new language, you need to learn a few new words each day. So maybe it's bad news for somebody, but yeah, miracles don't happen overnight. And as a trained professional cellist, I can certainly say that I started when I was 6 years old, and until I was 30, I practiced every single day. And sometimes it was hours, and sometimes it was minutes, but it was consistent practice, because in order to perform on a certain level, you have to keep up your routine. But they don't need to be, routines can be very enjoyable. This is the main point. So if you make these habits fun, enjoyable, accessible, and you know that they're beneficial, then the consistency is only good.
Yeah, like this walks in their nature, it can be so fulfilling. I really love to connect with nature. And the same with art, when when you know that every day or 3 times a week you will create something, and it's not it's there's no pressure because it's about the process. The same with the walking
Mm.
with creative process. It can be only for you, for yourself, when you don't have this perfect picture in your head what you have to create. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I'm reading the comment here when I say, when I'm overwhelmed with anxiety and grief, connecting with nature helps so much. Well, this is true. And you now, Paulina, you made a very helpful analogy here with nature and art. Those two things are there for humans to engage with. And for me, the similar thing between the two is that when you walk in nature, you feel a part of something. You feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And that on its own gives you a very reassuring feeling, that you're not alone, you have the support, you can always go into nature, it's there for you. And I have a very similar experience with engaging with art forms. Music is always there for you. When I go and experience a live concert, I feel like I'm a slightly changed person afterwards because I've engaged with something bigger than me, with a full symphony orchestra that performed a marvelous piece of music. And it's the same with visual art. I recently was in Amsterdam and I went to a Van Gogh museum, and just just looking at this beauty, it has a completely transformative effect on you, on people. And again, art is always there for us humans to go and engage with, to find strength, to find confidence, to live through difficult emotions, to find answers to our questions. So these things, it's pretty amazing. Maybe those are big words, but I see it in this way, that you just find something that works for you, but you can engage with your whole self, and you can find all the benefits from it.
Tatiana, thank you so much. It was such an interesting conversation with you, and I'm sure that it will be interesting to continue it more deeply in the pattern camp on the workshop, if you don't mind, soon. And also, if someone who is listening is ready to go right now and create something and need a bit of inspiration, you have access to my full library of 120 plus creative assignments. These are short videos that will help you to start creating. They will boost your creativity and they will give you some great ideas on what to create. It's really easy and very fun. The link is in my bio. And Tatiana, I hope we will have more lives together, because I think it's a good match of creativity, music, art, and all together.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you very much for having me today. It was a pleasure. It was a great conversation, and thank you for everybody watching. It was really great to see some engagement in the comments and to have such an interactive conversation. I would love to do more, and
Yeah.
thank you for inviting me to the pattern camp. This is going to be the first one, so it would be lots of fun.
Yeah. And
And yes, if you want to walk together,
yeah.
just check out my Instagram profile and you'll find all the information about the September retreat.
Yeah, I really
And
invite everyone to subscribe to Tatiana